Hello and welcome back to Trying Times. We're back. It's been a while. We've taken a lovely long break as we, tried to keep up with my disappointments in the club rugby calendar. Nghia, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I've been all right. I'm just flowing through life, just basking in the glory of Toulouse.
Basking in the glory of Toulouse. And that is also and welcome we're thrilled to be welcoming back one of our favorite guests to be with us for this preview show, which is welcome back Neil Green.
Thank you so much. I like favorite guests. I'm putting that in my can I put that in my bio on like Instagram? Trying Times
sure.
Favorite guests.
I mean, listen, I think from what I can tell from the gigs you're doing, you don't need us in your bio, but you know what?
That's how I get these gigs, Jack. I just put anything in my bio. Nobody checks what Trying Times is. If I say Trying Times Favorite guest, they go, "Oh yeah."
That's a bit too real that you're telling us that no one checks our podcast. I'll have you know, my aunt who knows nothing about rugby listens, which is hi, Carol, I guess. But
hi, Carol.
But yeah, considering since we last spoke to you, you have been booked for the Paddy Power Comedy Festival. That's pretty fucking huge.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm very, very, very excited about it. Did it for the first time last year, and back this year. Yeah.
What can we be expecting from you? Are you going to I'm hoping you just abandon whatever your usual set is and it's just talking rugby at a bunch of strangers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because last year I spoke about the All Ireland because that was going on the same day as I was on the
same
Sunday.
day as the All Ireland. Oh my god.
Yes, I was. Somebody this year as well. The Sunday is the same thing, and it affected nothing. Like the people were still packed in there. It was such a mad gig. So
really,
yeah. So last year I did a lot actually on the fact that it was the same day as the All Ireland. So I think you're right. This year rugby,
maybe even a bit of Olympics. You can kind of throw some sevens in there or whatever, and just kind of go like, listen, the Olympics is kind of bollocks. Go edgy with it, man. Go edgy with it.
Because I play sevens. Yeah. Talk what you say, Nghia. Talk about sevens. You should give me a Trying Times podcast T-shirt for the stage. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, listen, we will get one made with that little crest that Becky Cheadle was so kind to make for us.
Yeah. Becky Cheadle made a top little logo with that. That's really nice.
Yeah, it's fucking cool. It's real good. But yeah, so listen, we have invited you here today for the very important reason, as well as we were talking the last time, Neil, we realized that you're our go-to South African now, and we're about to have the key moment of we're about to have Ireland play South Africa in a 2-test series in South Africa. So what are your general thoughts on that? Are you excited? Is Twitter blowing up back home? Are people excited about it, or are you like, is it kind of do you guys care?
I'll tell you, it's been like almost like a 3-tiered run up here, right? And I'll explain to you. Firstly, I can't speak too much about Twitter. I haven't really been on Twitter. It's gone weird in there, and I'm sad because that was my favorite. That was by far my favorite social media platform. And now I hardly ever go on there at all. And you're right. Twitter's a good place to kind of gauge what the feeling is in a region and like where your followers are based. And like it's really intuitive with that, right? So now I'm going to talk about it through the prism of Facebook, which is mad because Facebook has its own problem. Like it has its own problems, right? But like I'll dip into Facebook every now and again, and I'll tell you what's happened there, right? We went from this boastfulness of being World Cup champions, like the joy that came with that, right? and having to have these conversations with everybody about how it feels. Yeah, we the champs, right? And then like we started looking forward. Oh, we got a test coming up at we back to club rugby and like like everything else. Somehow, Jack and Nghia, somehow in the online space, on Facebook specifically, the Irish fans and again, I don't know what the proportion is of people. You know what they say, it's a vocal minority, right? Somehow the Irish fans and the South African fans have been having this running feud for about a month and a half now.
It's so funny. Yeah, it's you're totally right, because like this is the thing. Anytime I go on to anything rugby, like the thing with like it's kind of the difference between Facebook and like Twitter at the moment is that like Facebook is your aunt who's trying to be cool, and Twitter is your cousin who's now addicted to fentanyl and QAnon. So
right, sure, yeah, exactly right.
So you're getting the takes you get on Twitter are fucking insane. But I did not think that there was animosity between the Irish and South Africans.
Where did this come from? This was just like we were always homies, bro. Like like I remember in the run up to the World Cup, that was the conversation I was having with everybody both ways. I was like, if we don't win it, it must be you. And they were like, if we don't win it, it must be you. And then I'm in the butcher's, like I'm getting some meats, and the butcher after when we were playing England, and he was like, oh, you have to beat England and go on to win it. Like we support you. And it's like we were each other's second teams, as far as I know, forever. Like like we don't have the relationship with the All Blacks or with anybody. So like that was what was going on. We each other's second teams. How did we become enemies? When what was the timeline on this?
I mean, it's sort of a career transition where it used to be a very gentlemanly agreement, like you go first, no, you go first, after you, and then suddenly we all now DJ Khaled, we're the best.
We're the best. Yeah, how did we become?
So like if I could boil it down to one word, apparently it's off the ball. The radio show, but I'm also like I'm a little bit like confused by it, because also separate point, Nghia, can you like up your mic? I don't know if you got my text. You're coming in quite low. Can you go again?
Yeah, no.
It's almost like you're not. Is your audio set to your laptop or your microphone?
Otherwise, you're gonna have to lay down and put your mouth on the laptop there, like just on the.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's just, how is it sounding for you, Neil? It's kind of coming in a little quiet for me.
A bit quiet,
Yeah.
Hello.
There we go.
Oh, there you
Perfect.
go. Whatever you did there now. Yes.
Yeah, stunning. But yeah, I mean, like, so when we go to like Ireland, South Africa, in terms of like this new rivalry that's formed. Now, listen, I don't want to blame off the ball entirely, right? But
okay.
I do think I have a few questions. And the first one is, are the South Africans, like the team themselves, okay? Because they're like, when Eben Etzebeth is talking about winning the World Cup and his big motivation is, the Irish guy said apparently he apparently counted 14 of 15 players who said, see you in the final, which I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
I call such horseshit on that as an argument, that he's like, can you imagine after, like, you remember that game? It was one of the most intense matches ever fucking played. The idea that anyone would be able to count full stop, I call bullshit on. But like, there's apparently, and then like in Chasing the Sun, there was a whole thing about how like we had disrespected the South Africans by playing well. I don't like, what happened? Is this something that was, is this kind of Rassie just being mind gamesy, or what's the like, or is there genuine like?
Oh yes. Okay. I think there's definitely a part of that. That's definitely an element of it, in that in getting your players up for a game, you kind of have to identify, like when we were playing back in the day, we would say the danger man. So you can't, like, you have to focus on everybody, but you have to focus. And I think especially coming into the World Cup, right? Ireland were the team to beat. Ireland coming into that competition were looking imperious. Yeah. And again, maybe because we had never been, historically, because we had never had any issues with each other outside of a few players in a Barbarians team, I can't say I've ever seen us have that kind of animosity that we have now. I think maybe that's what he's done. He's created this thing where you've made our strongest opponents closer to more of an enemy, like heightened. So you, how can I put it? To lean into that competitiveness that comes up when you're playing against somebody that you don't want to lose to. And then, of course, losing in the group matches didn't help that. Because, yes, 14 or 15 sounds like a lot, right? Like 14 or 15 sounds impossible.
It is,
But like,
yeah.
I can imagine somebody having some spicy words, a couple of people maybe.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, like at the end of the day, they're athletes. Someone's going to be a bit of a dickhead. Like that's just part of the fucking course, you know?
And that's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're coming up to 2 tests here that going back, I mean, I was a Shark season ticket holder for a long time, and we didn't really get many test matches in Durban compared to like Loftus and Newlands, and you get what I'm saying? So we get the odd one, and we were always so excited when it was an international that was included in your it was included in your season ticket. So it was always like, we're playing someone, and any international test is always a good day out. There's always like this extra behind it. You get what I'm saying? Like if you go watch a Tri Nations match, I watched a couple of Tri Nations match, and that was even more competitive. But it wasn't. How can I put it? Wait, give me a second. I'll be doing a second. Give me a moment. Trying to see how to mute myself. How do I mute myself?
I can mute you if you want.
I don't know.
Yeah, I got you. So Nghia, like, do you think that the URC has led to a bit of this kind of like changing animosities? Because we're like, South Africans used to be, from an Irish perspective, the South Africans were only in town once every 3 years. Yeah. So now they're kind of like, because we're playing with them, they're doing they're doing very well in the tournament. They've brought a lot to the tournament. Do you think that's led to a bit more of the kind of like fuck these guys attitude that seems to be forming between these two teams?
Yeah, I would say I think there's a great sense of familiarity, particularly now that a lot of the Irish teams and they're playing in South Africa on the regular in the URC. But at the same time, I remember when the Bulls first joined it. When the Bulls first joined the URC, and I actually went to that game. Right, it was COVID protocol was still in place, and Leinster thrashed the Bulls by 50 points or something. So
yeah, it was like the first game back, right?
It was the first game back. It was all right. Like there was some. I was glad. I was just glad to see some rugby. You know what I mean? So there was nothing really there. I think it was mostly to do with sort of the mind game, this being play out by Rassie by Rassie Erasmus. Just try to amp up the guys. Just try to have in order to create a sort of like emotional stake. Especially within a context of a World Cup.
And sorry, that I had to tip out there for a second, but I think what Nghia is saying there is also like what they're trying to do with these tests now, as I was saying, they feel more important than normal, right? Like you feel that.
I think so. Yeah,
like they don't feel like friendlies.
No,
I agree with that. Like so, the last time Ireland went to South Africa was in 2016. And it was going to be considered a major victory if we got one test. And now I'm kind of like nervous that now I'm kind of, the expectation is that we're kind of expected. Well, this is the thing. It's kind of like there's now like, because of Ireland's got quite a good record or whatever, there's now like, these are two of the best match teams. Like they're kind of like South Africa are like uniquely designed to like beat a team like Ireland, and Ireland seem to have a really good record of not losing to South Africa in the last like couple of years. So it's like there's almost like there's a sense of unfinished business with this test or something.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that. That's a good way, unfinished business. But and not to try and take that away, because nothing I can say can take that away, right? But if you go there now, 6 and 13th, you win both tests. Yes, there'll be a sense of accomplishment, and yes, it's always good to be. But like, how do you think that sets you up going forward? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what's the strategy to play like more young? Would you prefer if you play younger players and got them with a view to the future of how it's like to be in a high pressure match? Because again, we've fabricated a high pressure match here from a friendly, right? Against quality opponents, and get them some experience in the war, like. Or is it more important to win? Like, is it more important for the younger players to do well, or do you want the established players to go out there and set a marker to say, IRFU, this is what we do?
Yeah. I would say for South Africa, I think that is what Rassie is thinking, right, is cooking up right now, is that he's looking
I
to
agree.
he's talking to 2027, and even you look at the team sheet, like he's definitely like building depth, and particularly like key position, like for example in the number 10 jersey, like. So I remember because last weekend I watched the Wales game in Twickenham, and it was the perfect full warm up for Ireland, because you think about it, Wales are like Ireland if you buy them from Wish, like so.
Oh Jesus!
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that because I mean we ran all over Wales, but I don't think that this weekend's gonna be like that at all.
No, it's not gonna be like that. But the thing is, it's like a good it's the perfect warm up. You get to play a team that's sort of like Ireland's diet. But
I think that might be even flattering.
Ireland zero,
I think that might even be flattering for that current Welsh team.
I think Nghia, you absolutely landed on it there. That's definitely how South Africa's going to be approaching it. But like Jack, how do you think Ireland's going to be approaching it? Like, what do you think?
I see. The thing is, I think the Irish public are a bit are kind of rightly or wrongly are more concerned with the idea that they want to put in a good result every week than they are for building for 4 years. Like, I
That's
don't think
silly,
it's
though.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to it. I think the big thing is that if your team gets walloped every week, people won't buy tickets, and I think that's a key thing at the moment. Whereas, like, I don't think that there's maybe the leeway to kind of go out, kind of go fully experiment. I think certain teams with certain amount of depth. I think South Africa can do it. Maybe New Zealand can do it, but New Zealand, again, every game is considered a must win with New Zealand. I think the same is starting to become with Ireland, in the sense that, like, you want to build depth and stuff, but you don't do it at the expense of, like, I'm kind of torn myself personally, because I think historically with the South Africans have managed in the last 8 years to peak twice on year like 4 and 8.
Sure.
And have been, and I mean this with all respect, relatively crap in between. Like, there was kind of like, there was like massive depths in, like, massive drop off in quality. And then again, like, they were kind of like, you can clearly see that there was a plan of, we don't really care about this. The only thing we care about is the World Cup. And I don't think Ireland are in a position where they can really do that. I don't think, like, I kind of think there's an expectation that they want to go and win both games. Like, and that's the thing. Can they do it? Is a separate question entirely. But I do think, like, I also think it's kind of like, when Ireland have laid plans for players to be kind of built and ready for the time, it's not really worked as well either. Like, when we had players like Joey Carberry, and we had players similar who just, like, injuries get in the way, and in the meantime, you kind of have to go out there with the expectation you're going to win. Like, maybe we should have considered the New Zealand test more of a, like, blood players, get them used to really high stressful environments. But I also think that, like, a good tour really pushed Ireland into, like, pushed us into a good place. I don't know. I'm not sure maybe if, like, I'm not sure if it's a winning strategy, but I think from an Irish perspective, the key thing now is to make sure that, like, Jack Crowley and the 9 are, I assume it's going to be Craig Casey, are going to be bulletproof, because that's the kind of, in terms of Ireland's development, like, there are a few players who are going to come in who are like Joe McCarthy's still 23 or 24, Jimmy O'Brien's 25, Jack Crowley's like 22, Craig Casey, I have no idea, he could be 12 years old based on the size of him.
You put Craig Casey next to Fab de Clos, that's the before and after picture.
That's really good. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I think, rightly or wrongly, I think Ireland takes these games in the same, I think we kind of follow the New Zealand model of, you must win every game. And I think we're kind of, maybe to our detriment, that's been
I was about to say, I mean, New Zealand can do that because they've been doing that since 1987 and before. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But is it as important? Like, wouldn't you? Okay, don't you want to win a World Cup? Like, as simple as simply put as that, right? Wouldn't you want to win a World Cup? Like, isn't that the be all and end all? Like, you want to win a World Cup, right? So
yeah, of course I do.
So like any bumps and knocks and things that you figure out along the way, you've got 4 years to figure it out. Do you get what I'm saying? And
yeah,
and that doesn't mean
go ahead.
having a settled squad. That doesn't mean having your midfield having played 100 games together. You don't. I'm not saying that you don't win like that, but I'm saying you also win by having somebody that can come off the bench and come in at the 9 or the 10, and there's not this drop off in quality. That's part of winning a tournament.
Yeah.
Is you lose your first choice player to a serious injury the week before the tournament, and you kind of just shrug. And the only way you're gonna do that is by giving people trial by fire the whole time. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, no, South Africa have proven it, but also, like, again, to maybe defend Ireland a little bit. South Africa is also the benchmark that you don't need the 4-year running. You need a good 18 months.
But you see, that's what it seems like. But the truth is, even like this last World Cup, without going into the last one, like this World Cup coming in here, we were losing matches literally in the run up to that World Cup. But we were figuring stuff out while we were losing those matches. And in the World Cup, we were making significant strategic choices, like dropping Manny Lebok was mad, like was absolutely mad, because we had primed him for this tournament. Everything was for him being the man in this tournament. And then I'm not saying he wasn't playing well. I think he was playing well. But then there was this clamor and all these things were going on. And all of a sudden they said, all right, we're kicking. Yeah. You hear what I'm saying? We're not worried about what he brings on this side of the game. We're going with a traditional fly off. That won us the World Cup. So I don't know. It's always weird when we get into like punditry discussions or like strategic discussions, because like I'm just a fan.
Yeah.
Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like and as a fan, matches like this, like if we lose both tests, and I think that's where I've been conditioned. If we lose both of these tests, I'm unconcerned. If we lose both of these tests and a lot of players have great games, for me, that's a win. Like if we contest, if we at every loose ball and we're putting in a shift on defense and we're doing everything the way we're supposed to be doing it and we lose, I don't care. It's a friendly. Like I don't care. So this, you're right, it's a New Zealand thing. This thing of the expectation of winning every time you're going. I don't normally see that with South Africa, but again, these two next ones, it feels like it all of a sudden. There's some banter coming.
See, the thing almost is that, and we can talk about this a bit actually, there does seem to be, because we've done the Six Nations and you haven't done the Tri Nations yet. So this is almost like a
the rugby championship.
The rugby championship.
Don't forget Argentina.
Yeah, how could I forget Argentina, who will be a rugby nation, who will be a rugby union nation long after Australia packs it in. Like, yeah, no, I think that's maybe like, I think maybe there's also that attitude. There's kind of a change in the sense that it's kind of almost the beginning of the South African season, the like international season, and it's the end of the Irish one. And while we're talking about seasons, why don't we talk about kind of like the relative form of certain, but why don't we talk about the club form? Because it's kind of the best indication at the minute of where the players are at. And Neil, as a Sharks fan, congratulations, you came away with a bit of silverware this year.
Thank you so much. As one of the most losingest teams in the history of all sports around the world, anytime we win something, it's a big deal. Boss. So, and like to win this competition, this particular competition, I don't know. Again, like I'm getting used to it. I'm not as amped as if we had won a Super Rugby. We never won a Super Rugby. Never ever won one, and now we can't win one. So this should be the equivalent of winning an international cup, right? But it feels weird. Like, how would it? You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel that same elation.
I think you're officially spoiled by success of the national team winning back-to-back World Cups.
Yeah. Why is it even there's the Challenge Cup? You know, like what's the point?
Yeah.
The challenge is to care, clearly.
What do you think about the competition? Like, are you like locked in, or you like the way you would be with like what was it, Heineken Cup?
Yeah, it's the Champions Cup now, but the Heineken Cup. Yeah, so again, the Heineken Cup this year. The Champions Cup this year, I have gone to 3 finals and I have watched my team lose all 3 fucking finals. So
that's quite the collection going on there.
I'm close to being banned from going to these games. Like, I've bought tickets to 4 finals. I couldn't get over to Marseille because I couldn't get over to Marseille. So of the 4 finals that I have invested money into Leinster's wins, they have lost all of them. So at this stage, I think the idea of any silverware in any capacity is just fucking great. Like, I think
you take it.
Oh man, even the the last thing Leinster won was that like shitty Irish Shield thing. I don't even know if that still exists. It was kind of like it was like if you came top seed of your fucking country in the URC. It's like a weird. Do you know the way they want to have fireworks at the last home game kind of crack? So they kind of give a trophy a name. It was that. And we didn't even win that this year. Munster won it this year. And we were so Leinster fans are kind of slowly losing the run of themselves a little bit. Because it's weird, because it's
Amira?
But it's very much it's a weird one with Leinster at the minute. So like kind of the club form in Ireland versus South Africa at the minute, it's kind of a weird one because like the Sharks obviously won a trophy, great for them. I mean, considering you guys were like, you know, properly bottom of the league, to come away with the silverware is massive. Like that's just
insane. Yes.
Yeah, it's like that's real, like, you know, pulling a very big rabbit out of a very small hat. But like with the Irish team and stuff, when you look at the club form, my impression at the end of the year is the Irish team looked knackered. Like all the Irish teams looked exhausted.
Yeah.
And that comes back to approaching every game as a must win. Like this feeling that you have to come out there and smash to everybody every time is good in theory. But I mean, come on, bro. Like,
but also like when you look at the Springbok squad as well, like you have a few of the guys who are playing in Japan at the moment. They're playing for Japanese clubs, and a few of them are like key players. People like Fab the Club, you know, Spirit have the Toy, and you know, and you mentioned how like all the Irish teams are knackered, whereas with the Japanese tournament is that it's shorter, to play a faster brand of rugby, and you know you get earn a shitload of money. As also you come out with joining the national team camp looking very fresh and, you know, clean and, you know, ready to go.
Yeah, there's definitely something for that. Like that's been kind of massive for a lot of, like, for the Springboks who've done it. It's a weird one because like the Springboks are spread all over the place, and Rassie in one of his weird shots.
New, eh? That's new. That's like that's something we're still getting used to. Like.
Yeah, it is kind of like the last maybe 7 or 8 years it's become a real thing, I think. But like Rassie was again in his endless mind game. We could spend a literal hour talking just about Rassie Erasmus and his apparent now hatred of Ireland. There's never been a man who was so willing to just devote it. It's, you know, like when you're in a shower and you relive arguments in your head that have never happened with some randomer. You're like, this is what I'm going to say if this moment happens. It's like he does that, but in front of the meeting. And he's like, oh yeah, man, those Irish, I mean, if they were to do this, well, I would obviously do this because fuck those guys. And everyone there is taking notes. It's like, did they say any of this shit? Like, is it something that's ever happened? Which is, again, it's brilliant from a, like, he's just fully, like, he's
with Etzebeth as his lieutenant, with Etzebeth as his lieutenant sometimes.
Yeah, which is hilarious. I mean, if ever there was a man who did not need to give a shit about what other players thought about him, it was fucking Etzebeth. Like that guy is a mountain of a man.
Even I remember watching an interview with Damien Didier Allende, and he was talking about how like yeah, but because we're very emotional, we think we cry a lot. Whereas the Irish, they don't cry. You know, I never seen them cry a tear. They're not very emotional. They're very stone cold. That's why we won the World
played
Cup.
with Peter O'Mahony. He played with Peter O'Mahony. Peter O'Mahony can't go to fucking Lidl without crying. The idea that he went to Munster of all fucking clubs and said that the Irish weren't emotional. Are you kidding me? They're like, this is what it's gas. It's like, it's what I really find it really funny is that like there does seem to just be like bar off the ball. I can find no other kind of, or like, you know, the regular fucking insane people on Twitter who are just like, no matter what you comment, they'll go, here's why you're an asshole, and respond it to you. Like, I don't really see where it's coming from, but the fact that the Springboks, like, they are now like, it's almost, did you ever see that stuff about like Tiger Woods' dad, about how he almost prepared his kid? Tiger Woods' dad essentially put his son through like fucking Vietnam psyop shit that was done, like that they do to get the fucking guys ready to go out into the jungle and shit. He did that to his kid. I remember
seeing that.
Is this what Rassie is doing to the Springboks at the minute? Because like, what the fuck is like? You've just won a World Cup. You've just won a World Cup. We got knocked out in the quarters. Why do they care about us? Like, that's like, we had show notes for this, and I like, one of my notes was South Africa won the fucking World Cup. Like,
yeah, like, why are we so up for this? But you see, again, I feel like I think that's us, the fans now. Like, we planning a braai and everything for this weekend. I was like, you don't plan a braai for a friendly. Like, you know,
is it really a friendly though? I think this no. Like, yeah, I think I know it's an international test or whatever, and like they are because they're like, it's not like a football friendly, which literally means dick. I think they mean slightly
we're
more.
We're going to improve our coefficient world ranking thing. Like,
don't you shit on the coefficient? It's the only thing we have. So yeah, but so you hang on, yeah. So a braai. Explain to me the difference between a braai and a barbecue. What's the
same thing?
Same thing.
Same thing, except with more South African themed meats and snacks and drinks. So basically, a barbecue would be, I don't know, you'll have like all this really, really safe, sanitized grilling hamburgers and all that. Like, what are you doing? Like, those are, you know, you need to come to South Africa. When we have a braai, we start throwing in things like, bro, you know what's boerewors? I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, boerewors, yeah.
Yeah.
What is this?
It's a sausage, but like, I don't know what they grind. They're grinding some other things in there. Be like, listen, I don't fully understand. I just eat it. I don't ask questions. You come to a braai, like in South Africa, my friend, all kind of things is going on there. Ox liver, just a whole ox, just ox liver, or it's mad. Basically, we have a fire and we are going to cook things on it, and it's amazing. We start braaiing sandwiches. You on barbecue sandwiches? That's what I'm talking about. That's how far we take it. Slice of bread, cheese, onion, tomato, slice on the fire. You would never think of doing something like that. So that's the difference between a braai and a barbecue.
I mean, like, I feel like maybe we wouldn't think about that. I think the idea that we haven't got the idea of a toasted cheese might be a little beyond us. But I like
no toasted cheese for sure. But see, when you make a toasted cheese again, everything's safe and all that's going on. Yeah, the one, a braai broodjie, that's what it's called, a braai broodjie. So you just putting it in the hands of the person in charge, what's happening there, and you just eat what comes.
I'm just I should never doubt this, because a braai is what took the South African contingent out of the Munster team for, like, do you remember this, like 3 years ago?
No, you have to fill me in what happened. Yeah, no.
So it was Jean Klein, CJ Stander, RG Snyman were all at, and I think Conor Murray and a few others. It was like a Munster, and they were like, we're going to do a South African braai. So RG Snyman went, this fire's not big enough, and fucked a load of lighter fluid at it, and the thing exploded. And he got like, 3 of them got like burns and were out of next week's game because he just fucking blew up a car.
You see, you didn't hear me. I said a braai has got no hygiene standards, no safety, no nothing, like whatever. The man saw the fire, and in his heart, it wasn't big enough. He just went mad. That's what happens at a braai. That's a typical braai.
So they're having a braai. So they would they have like when say when Australia comes to town, would you be also planning a braai, or like is this would you
Well,
like make an event of
a
this?
braai is normally like it happens a lot, but it's always like impulsive thing. It's just spontaneous. Spontaneous combustion. You know what I'm saying? We're just like, let's go, let's do it. But like,
Yeah.
so when you plan a braai, that's when you invite people. That's when you put the desserts in the fridge from the night before. Because our barbecues have desserts. See, your barbecues with no desserts. I can't come to it. Barbecue with no dessert.
If we have a trying times barbecue, I will bring dessert and I will make sure it was refrigerated.
Trying
Yes,
time,
please.
Braai. Yeah, Braai time.
End of season 2. Braai.
Oh, that was good. Trying times. That's going on the fucking
I love
t-shirt.
it. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, for sure. But you see, so that's what I'm saying. So when we have an organized one, when we say, like, everybody come over, who's bringing salad, who's bringing dessert, who's bringing ice, like, so that's always like a big occasion. And that's what this weekend is turning into for a lot of South Africans. It's an occasion, like it's an event, and it's weird to me, but I will be in it. I will be at a braai drinking a Springbok. You know, it's a Springbok. Huh?
I thought it was a type of deer.
Baileys and creme de menthe.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, you mentioned that in the
no. You mentioned that in the last episode. Yeah,
the last episode. Yeah,
creme de menthe is like, oh no. How do you like? Man, I'm just trying to think of like a worse braai drink. I'm thinking fire. I guess I mean like you're surrounded. Like I guess there's a little bit of a Christmas by the fire Baileys, but I think outdoors in South Africa, it's not going to be super cold. I'm assuming.
No,
it's
we're drinking. I just told you there's no. You keep trying to apply logic to it. We'll be drinking Springboks. We'll be drinking cognac mixed with Coke. We'll be drinking like I don't think it's just happening. And then your uncle goes in the back and he says, "Oh, the pineapples is ready." And he comes with the pineapple gas that's been buried underneath the shed at the back. It's all fermented. Then you start drinking that. It's mad.
I have literally no. Yeah, I now understand that I should pay more appreciation to the braai, man. This is a cultural event in itself.
Yeah, last thing, there's a song that they often play at braais, and I don't know. I feel like I'm selling out South Africa, yeah. So this is a Trying Times exclusive. There's a song that they play. I'm not gonna say the name of the song, and the song comes with the dance, and the dance involves all the men taking your broeke off, Verteklerk style, right? Full off, pants right off, and then you tuck in your thing like you tuck it to the back, and then you dance. Yeah, it's the lion walk. You walk like a lion. Yeah, that's what happens after that. Woo! That's braai time. That's what we up to. Yeah.
What I'm just realizing, and I think would be kind of hilarious, is that you could just be pulling Jack's a white dude and we'll believe whatever the fuck I say.
Oh no. The South Africans that are listening to this are nodding sagely and going, yes. Sounds good. That's right. Yep.
To pivot wildly from that dance.
Yeah.
What are you so one of the big stories at the end of the year was the Racing 92 coach came out and said that he complained that they lost the final because Sia Khaleesi was too fat.
Well, it was the owner, the Swiss billionaire, Jackie Lorenzetti.
Just that's I feel like in terms of people that the entire rugby community fucking adore, maybe don't just go, hey, Sia Khaleesi's fat. Like that just seems like a recipe for somehow that's going to be blamed on the Irish as well. I'm not sure how yet.
We'll bring it back somehow. Yeah, don't worry. You know, I'm trying to think something to do with Hennessy, but anyway, continue.
Yeah. But so I don't know what I really think about that other than like actually this is what I meant. What do you think? Now it's been a while since the World Cup, obviously, but like there's kind of been maybe. Do you think there's been like a taking of the gas? Like they've taken their foot off the gas? Like I said, a lot of South Africans kind of had like a massive party and stuff, and they were just kind of like Kitsoff, who moved to Ulster very quickly.
Oh yeah, that went. And the online noise from that was insane. Some of the comments that I saw about that from like the fans, the Irish fans was ooh. But anyway, yes, I definitely think that there's been a collective taking taking it easy. And I think this weekend we'll see how much they've tried to condition themselves. I mean, if you're saying the man's conditioning wasn't right, that's one thing. Saying he's fast is something altogether. But I don't think it's wrong to say that there may be some slacking going on, and I don't just mean like in the build-up. So we'll see what happens Saturday.
Yeah. And Nghia, you were watching them you watched their game last weekend. What do you think? Like, how did they look as a team? Because I missed the game. Like, because in the Irish context, we have the Six Nations as kind of like we saw 6 games of them. And while the club game is kind of like the club game in Ireland kind of had a bit of a dismal end of the year, it was kind of very punishing for Leinster to lose in the final. And then the Bulls, they just looked completely out of energy. And then Munster, again, lost a game they should have won against Glasgow. So they kind of were like, it felt a bit like the trajectory for the Irish players is a little bit on the downward curve because they seem tired now, getting away from the club games, going to South Africa. Like, you see the socials they're putting up and stuff, like they do seem to be having a bit of crack with it as well. So I'm curious from an Irish perspective, but like South Africa obviously have played 2 games, but 1 game in 2024, which is the game against Wales. How did they look? Nghia, what did you think?
Yes, I mean it was basically a rotated squad. Obviously, you used to have some of the heavy hitters like Jesse Creel, Vincent Koch played his 50th game. I mean obviously they were a bit rusty, but at the same time you could see they're trying something new, like because they just added Tony Brown from to the coaching staff as attack coach. So obviously they now want to evolve the game to play much essentially more quicker from a brand of rugby. You still have the bastards within them, the set pieces and
the bastards,
and you see like they score some like amazing tries, score some brilliant tries as well. You have like Mapimpi just like running riots, and then you have this new guy. See, the problem I can't tell South African wingers from each other anymore. They all wear the same scrum caps. They all look alike.
It's a scrum cap, bro. Like, I don't know. I told you that's Gio Eplon. He was the first player to start wearing scrum caps in the back line, and then that's become like a thing, especially with the Cape Town based players.
I mean, they all look the same as well. They have this just sort of the determination to kill you of look. They don't care if they.
Yeah, Neil, is there like a particular factory where you seem to be building these 5'0" speed merchants with scrum caps? Like they are like
they all look angry as well.
Ardenza, Colby, the new guy.
His name is Gio Eplon, and then I don't know if you've seen Attack of the Clones. A couple years back, we got Gio Eplon. We said, right, you Boba Fett, we're gonna take you. We're gonna put you. And they all he's the archetype. He was the original guy that looked like that, and now they all look like that. That's why they wear scrum caps, so that you can't see like their number, like their clone number on the back of their head. It's not even for protection.
You just hear the Empire secrets. You just hear the Empire March just playing in the background.
Exactly. Execute Order 66 on Ireland. Jesus,
Execute Order 66.
But yeah, so they do have like one of my favorite notes that we had before this episode was South Africa's production line of big bastards and what was it, scrum cap wingers, did you call them?
Tiny
big
wingers.
Bastards and tiny wingers.
It's like we're making the big bastards and the wingers are what's left over. Like we just
you're just like a beef bourguignon, the bits of meat that aren't working, you like throw them all into a pot, give it a scrum cap, and he fucking annihilates. At one stage, this podcast was about rugby.
It is a comedy rugby podcast. Never forget, Jack.
This is I'm having a wonderful time. But yeah, so like, well, let's have a little gander now as the squads, as we kind of alluded to it, the never-ending line of big bastards and tiny wingers. So Rassie Erasmus did something really interesting this week where he essentially just named the Ireland squad. I don't know if you saw this. he put out the exact squad that he expected to see, and to be fair to it, it was probably the exact squad that will be named. He was like,
but like, think about that. That's gangster saying like,
Yeah.
I'm putting your cards on the table.
Yeah.
Then you think that's going to be quite faithful, like taking into account, injuries and everything.
I think maybe the only question I can see at the moment on the squad that he put out is in the Irish centre, who goes in between Bundy Aki, Robbie Henshaw, and Gary Ringrose. So
right.
Bundy Aki on the back of fucking phenomenal 2023, picked it up in 2024.
What a player, dude. What a player! Yeah. Like just anyway.
And you kind of need a guy who's just like full of fight. So it seems really, I don't think you can. The only thing that like maybe could go against him is the fact that Connacht didn't go particularly well this year, but he doesn't play a huge amount with Connacht, and also Bundy Aki has never once failed to get up for a match. Like the guy is up for fucking everything. Yeah. So like, and then it's, who do you go for the Irish perspective? Who do you go for? Do you go Gary Ringrose, who's maybe more of a natural 13, or Henshaw, who did 13 for the entirety of the Six Nations, I think was, and the 13 for pretty much the entirety of the Leinster season as well in the Champions Cup, who I think was really good, really physical. Now, again, I have a massive Henshaw bias, but it's kind of like, that's the real question, because maybe Ringrose is a more natural 13, whereas Henshaw has a bit more heft and is a bit more like kind of maybe a bit more kind of direct. He kind of offers a little bit more in that kind of like, if you're just trying to crash it up and you're trying to like, you know, there's big South Africans running at you, he can really put in a big shot. So it'll be interesting to see. That's the real question from the Irish perspective. But it's for the Irish question, and I guess maybe a little bit the South African as well, it's almost a question of who isn't there for us is the big thing. So our three big players who are missing this weekend are Hugo Keenan, who is chasing the Olympic dream, but there's a tiny bastard in France who's going to have a say in that. And then there's Jack Conan, who I think is about to have his first child, so he's dropped out for personal reason. And Mac Hansen, Mac Hansen, I think it was his arm or his knee.
He's been out for a while.
Yeah, he's a joint injury anyway, so it's a bastard to heal, and you don't want to rush it, because if you do, you're just gonna like lose another season. But yeah, as a South African fan, Neil, is there, when you see the kind of like the Irish team that maybe went to, it's going to be pretty similar to the Six Nations team, would you fear that, or are you kind of like, no, we've seen what you guys can do at this stage?
Well, you see, when it comes to the physical, like to like the physicality, so like banging about, I think we match up well there, except for little spots, and that's where we have to. Thank you so much. That's where we have to compensate with our style of play. But I think like Bundy Aki is gonna run into you. You're gonna know about it, no matter who you are. You know what I'm saying? So there's places where you're gonna have to compensate for that, and you're gonna have to game plan for that. So I think when Rassie's putting his team out, when Rassie's putting his Ireland team out as well, a big part of him putting the team out was also him kind of flexing and saying, I'm planning for these people and whoever else. If you don't bring these, I'm checking your next move. And I think he's very good at that. I think he's very good with, like you say, size in the back line. That is a real thing. You get what I'm saying? Like if your winger is much bigger than my winger, that should be a problem. Why is it not? It's because Rassie knows how. He knows how to get a man over, how to tap the man and say, come over here. We play very, very, very good defense. And that's all that it is. You've seen in our World Cup run, that's the way we always play. We just want to make sure we're not out-muscled, regardless of our size. So, I don't know. Again, we aren't looking our sharpest, though. Like, I would not put money on us winning either one of these two tests.
Really?
Not a chance. I don't think we win. I don't think we win either of them.
Yeah, even like because you look at it from the Wales game, even though they were dominating, so they were still like making really silly mistakes, and I think there's an issue with like aggression, just like over tackling and just conceding silly penalties as well, and
Sure.
Obviously, the issue is going to be in the number 10 position because you already have you have like good ball runners, but you don't have someone like who can like slot in goals on a consistent basis. Obviously, you
Is
still have
Pollard not
like
in the squad?
he is in the squad, but I imagine they'll probably play Blibok
But-
starting.
Yes.
Mm.
And that's
And
for the simple
put,
reason that in 2027, Pollard's not going to be there.
yeah.
Maybe,
You
yeah.
get what I'm saying?
Well, I mean,
So
Mornay
there's-
Stain has been around for like 30 years at this stage. Like South Africans have gone back to the well and found like, oh, this guy can still hit it from halfway. Put him on the pitch.
I mean, they might call up Percy Montgomery if they need to.
Percy Montgomery was like 42, boss, when he's flowing knocks out here. But you see, but that's the thing. Like when he was playing at that time, Stefan Blanche played, I think, until 40, well into his 40s, but his game was so different that he could do it. But you see, the thing is, those people will we're very good with keeping people around the team, but also getting the next person ready. Sometimes to our detriment, like with people like Franz Steyn, we were too ambitious for what we thought he could do, and then we had my man that couldn't keep away from the ancillary stuff, Elton Junkies like this.
I forgot about that story. Yeah.
Man, break it up. Happy hours.
What a man.
But I think we have
That's
a
all public
responsibility.
record. I think we're fine.
That's probably I'm fine to say I think players like Mani Lebok are going to be very important for us in the next World Cup. So I think we definitely are going to be leaning heavily into them now.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to go 6-2 or 7-1? Yeah.
I don't know. They might go 8-0. I mean, if that's possible.
I think if they're truly, if Rassie, I'm assuming, listens to this podcast because he needs something to pin onto his wall. If Rassie's not a coward, he's going to go 8-0. That's my prediction. 8-0. Have fucking Quagga Smith cover center. It'll be fine. Like,
yeah, have him have Osenche practicing goal kickings.
I think he could make it, man. I think he could hit those shots.
Salas don't win goal.
I think he'd be sweet, man. I think that's exactly what they should do. Is they should, yeah. I'm
just
so what?
It's crazy.
Yeah,
I just don't want to.
I think they should do it. I think like it's going to be interesting because I don't know if they can go. I'm not sure if they can go 7-1, or I'm not sure they want to go 7-1 with John Klein.
Ways.
John Klein got that
that
eye injury, and I think Jean Klein's eye injuries kind of ruled him out of this series, which is it sounds pretty rough. But like in January, like in I don't know. Do you think they'll go 7-1? Do you think they'll go 6-2?
I think even like I saw this whole big news about the rule change now about calling a mark and all that. And I thought, Rassie's playing with you. Like that's not going to be his strategy forever for the rest of the time. Yeah. No ways. I don't think he might do it in these next two games again just to mess with people's heads. But no, that's not. He needed to do that at the time, and the results speak for themselves. But no, that's like you can't play rugby. There's a reason why nobody plays rugby like that, and we did it to great effect. But I don't think that's going to be a strategy that we'll lean into as we go forward. No, definitely not.
Yeah. Yeah, especially like if South Africa want to play more of a faster brand of rugby, would feel very physical but much quicker, much more dynamic as well. I think there might be more more dependent.
Yeah,
and on the back line.
We've always been about a pacey, strong backline. We've always, bro, like that's always been our thing. We can go back to Henry Honeyball and whoever. Like that's always been our thing. This last World Cup, we veered away from that. But I think that was the coach, again, with a good strategy and looking at the people that he had available for selection. He just thought that was the way to do it. But no, I don't see that being our long-term identity.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because I'm kind of like, I think the 6-2 is the new norm for the way they divide teams. I think that's just the future. Again, like I think you're so right with the idea that Rassie pulled that stuff before, but that doesn't mean it's his guaranteed like answer for a lot of this stuff. Like,
yeah,
I also think and I like maybe you can, as a fan, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. I think sometimes we give coaches too much credit for shit that's beyond their control. Like I think the
Yeah,
mark stuff is planned, and I think, but like the idea that everything works perfectly, it's kind of like, do you remember when like in football when Jose Mourinho was trying to like talk that Jose Mourinho was acting like he had some fucking magic 8 ball that was telling him everything. And as a result, he was like, "Oh yeah, no, it's all mind games. I've unnerved their entire team." I'm kind of think every now and again we give people like that who kind of chat shit too much
yeah,
credence. And I think
yeah.
you're totally right. Like the things that he has done that are really effective, like the mark in that one game was only going to work in that one
He
game.
didn't do that
Like,
again. Like it wasn't like
yeah, yeah,
and like now you're changing the rules. It's like I'm sure Rassie's going, fine,
yeah. He just
won't
like
do it then. Yeah.
it was literally like a once off. Because if you do that the next time, like the French, like if say they did it the next week against the fucking New Zealanders, they knew
Yes.
that was coming and they were
And
gonna just kind of like fully go for it. And they're like, oh
yes,
great, we've now got a penalty like 50 yards closer than we would have.
bro, and it's like our pack is good. Like we all right,
Yeah,
sure, we're right up there, but we're not like you can win a scrum against us. But I
yeah,
think when that happened, you just kind of took 50 kgs off them because of the shock of the whole thing.
yeah,
Like we all,
Yeah.
we won that scrum the way we won it because they went, what the hell is going on?
yeah,
But
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
you can't surprise somebody with that again. Like they'll be like, no, if they do that, we're
Mm.
gonna do this. So
What do you think? What do you think his surprise for this week's going to be? Uh,
Mm.
I'm
I
hoping I'm hoping that he's like not in the coach box, but he's like somewhere in the stand, and the cameras have to like find him or something. And like he's like, oh yeah, man,
where's
the only way to
Rassie?
get a proper
Yeah.
view of the
Yeah.
game
Where's
is from the
Rassie?
crowd
Where's
perspective.
Rassie? No, and he's undercover operating a Braai stand on the side of the field, just turning the meat over. Just see him through the
Stop him
smoke.
up! Stop him up!
Yeah.
Get him the fucking lighter fluid. Like, yeah, there's
Where's
like
all
instead of the cone,
Stay man.
instead of the cone signals, they've got a smoke signal this time. Like,
Nah, it's mad though. Like
The West Stand has burned down as Rassie tried to indicate a 3 points was definitely on.
oh man, but I think we're gonna have a lot of fun watching these matches, and I think they've gone to a level, at least in the online space. There's lots of people that are typing out their drafts
Yeah,
for for a win
fucking
this
right
weekend.
here, buddy.
Lots of people, and I don't think you're ever gonna have as much think pieces after the fact from
Yeah,
like, bro, regardless of the results, I think people are going to read a lot into this and say, oh, this is an indicator of this. And I think I don't think that's, I think we're putting too much weight on these games, but I like it.
Mm.
I do
I
like it
like,
because
yeah,
I'm looking forward to the weekends now, in a way
Yeah.
that I wouldn't be if we were just playing like, I don't know, if we were playing Wales or in Twickenham. Like I wasn't, yeah, like I was like, yeah, all right, we're playing Wales in Twickenham. Let's put it on in the background. But this weekend we're going to be locked in, like
we're gonna watch it.
we're
So
gonna watch it.
So the game is kicking off so this week it's Pretoria, and I think next week Loftus versus Durban, right?
Home,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
my stadium.
And then next week then is wherever the Bulls play. Where do the Bulls play?
They play at Loftus.
They play at Loftus. So this first
Yes.
game is the one that's at altitude.
Yes, that's right.
So how much like from when you were just like living in Loftus, was altitude just fucking you up daily? Like living in Durban, was altitude just fucking you up daily?
No, Durban is sea level now, right? So we absolutely like. So no, my enemies were humidity and hijackers.
Two in the same, yeah.
That's what I was worried about. But like, yes, like even in our domestic competition cups, cricket and rugby, like they would always talk about that. Like when the players are coming from Hoorveld, when they're coming from the Highlands, like it's easier for them. Lance Klusner's coming to hit 6 6s in an over because the bat swings differently through the air. And they literally talk about they talk about all this stuff, and I don't know, it definitely has an effect on players. I don't know how much of it is physiological and how much of it is psychological, but I'm telling you, when the air is a bit thin,
Mm.
and to fix the way players play. And I
Yeah.
don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
if that's because the
It's
capillaries are moving. I don't know that, but people
it's
say
pure
that.
oxygen to the brain, isn't it? It's kind of like the idea, like if the oxygen content is a little thinner, it means you're getting less oxygen, and as a result, you're just making stupid decisions. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know how often have you been late for a bus and forgotten your fucking phone or some shit? It's because your brain's gone, fuck, I gotta get there fast.
exactly that. So I think a lot of times, like our teams would do that. Like if we're gonna play at altitude next week, we won't train at home. Like we'll go do our training sessions up there. Just
So okay, so it's Loftus sea level, so is it?
no, Durban is sea level.
Okay,
Loftus, Esveld is, yeah, that's up in the
that's fucking
mountains, but
high.
it's not really. Yeah, but it's not
Yeah.
really, but it is,
Because I know they have the door has on the way under out the tunnel.
Yep.
They took a screenshot of it, and they put it up on their socials and stuff. The Bulls do it, where it's kind of like this stadium is X amount of degrees above sea level.
But you see,
It
that's just
matters.
fucking with people. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I don't know how much advances. And I think even when the coaches will take you up for practice for 3 days at altitude, they're just doing it so that you don't, when you see that poster, you don't go, oh my God.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that altitude is just is a lie by big oxygen or something like.
Yeah, and also the
No,
fact
don't get me wrong.
because nowadays they're playing, like all the South Africans and the Irish teams are playing in the URC. They play in at high altitude, like on the regular anyway. So they can,
Yeah,
I imagine they're already used to
they're used to it. But I think that, but Nia, I know there's a stadium. There's a football stadium in Uruguay. I think it's in Uruguay. That's like the highest stadium in the world or something. And apparently, when you play there, like you feel it in the same way. Like if you went to play a game, I don't know, if you did something stupid, like you had a World Cup in Qatar, like I'm sure playing under those conditions would matter, like in those absolute extremes. But I don't think Loftus is high enough for it to matter. But I also like the fact that everybody thinks that it matters, the international teams.
Yeah.
Because like the Sharks don't give a shit, as Neo was saying. Like they're like, if you're playing 10 other teams, 8 of them are at altitude anyway, so
Yeah,
it's not a problem. Yeah.
So as we kind of like as we round off our review, where I do not know, I don't know. Yeah, where do we? Nia, give me your final thoughts. What are you hoping to see from the weekend? What's your prediction? Who do you think is going to win, and what should we be looking out for?
Yeah, like I imagine it will be sort of the same level of intensity as the World Cup game. Just lots of very clean physicality. I imagine there'll be a level of rustiness from the Springboks, because they're still figuring things out. New combination and all the new players. But it will still be a very tight game as well. We just have to look forward to the next tiny wingers in the scrum cap. But yeah, I imagine Ireland will just edge it within the last 20 or so.
Okay, you predict an Irish win.
Yeah.
So Neil, as our guest, I'll give you the last say. So I'll give my little rant now, because I'm less confident of an Irish win, I have to say. So my heart will always say Ireland, because again, I'm delusional at the best of times. I'm still convinced we won the 2023 World Cup, and I refuse to explain that. But I didn't know what it is, right? Because Ireland had a really good Six Nations. But it was almost like the English game knocked the stuffing out of the collective rugby spirit or something. What it seems to be at the minute is that Ireland are playing a game the way that we basically require you to play your best game of the season against us. And Leinster are something similar. You need to put a career best up against us to beat us. But the issue is that teams are finding that. And I don't know if it's kind of I think maybe the Leinster guys are going to be really rejuvenated about the idea of playing for Ireland again, because it's just a different environment with a different coach. And Andy Farrell just has this ability to make people just think they can run through walls for him. Like, he just seems like a fucking top bloke. Like I don't play for the team, but if Andy Farrell asked me to run into a wall, I probably would. Like I would go, you know what, fuck it, it's for the cause, let's go.
Yeah, Rassie
I
would
don't
do
know.
the same as well.
You see, Rassie, I would be kind of like Rassie. I'd be like, "Where's the fucking cameras? This guy's trolling me." But like I don't know. I kind of like I wonder. So I kind of in my mind it comes up to South Africans being the South African team being kind of undercooked versus Ireland being overtired. It's kind of the impression I get from it. In the sense that like obviously with like they've obviously been involved in the URC and all the leagues across Europe and stuff, but I just think the Six Nations plus the Champions Cup runs have just taken maybe a mental toll. And like with not having Hugo Keenan there is another thing, because the South African team are just like all of their teams seem to be just phenomenally good kicking sides. So they kind of like they build their games on basics. And I think Jimmy O'Brien's great, but I'm just wondering is Kieran Frawley or whoever comes in after him at 15 for whatever stretch, like will they be able to hack it as well? So I kind of my brain's leaning South Africa a little bit here. I think there's just a sense that I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love for this to be like the France game, where we just kind of show up. But I just don't get the. I just think there's too much. I think there's just too much minutes in the legs of the Irish team. Like it's the longest season in fucking history. So this season theoretically started because of all the warm-ups for the World Cup during last year's summer. This season officially started in like 2022 or 2021. Sorry. So they've been gone since 21 without a prolonged break. And I just think the team seems tired. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they've been rejuvenated, but I definitely got that sense from the club teams. And Neil, what are your thoughts on the weekend? So,
well, this coming weekend, right? This is the first game, the one at altitude, and I'll tell you what it is. I don't think we're gonna win.
Really,
I really don't think we're gonna win, and I'm okay. I'm okay with letting it go past because I just want to see some good rugby. I want to see some good, expansive rugby. I hope the weather conditions, because Loftus can be a bit, the place itself can make it be attritional, and I don't want that. I want to have fun. I want to cheer stuff. I want some big hits. I hope there's something controversial. In fact, you know what? I hope we win. I hope Ireland is like up by like a whole lot of points, and then something super controversial happens and we win by like 2 points. That would be my absolute dream for Mbonambi to call people Fenian cunts.
Very scanted.
Yeah. I think actually, do you know what? If Bonambi calls anyone a Fenian cunt, I'll buy you a pint. That's a bet that I record on this podcast.
But like, I just want fun. Like, I just want to have a big, joyous match. But if it was my money, if I'm putting my money down, I don't think we're gonna win. I think your boys are fired up for it, in a way that, I'm not saying we aren't, but yes, there's been this kind of this really chilled attitude about the team, and I'd like that knocked out of us as well. I'd really like for that to happen, and then hopefully look forward to a much more competitive in Durban, because I care about Durban, where I'm from. Like, I'd like to win if I can. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. There you have it. We have a really interesting thing where the South Africans back in the Irish is back in the South Africans. And the Vietnamese are back in the Irish as well. So we will. Do we have any last notes that we want to leave? With our listener?
No, not from my side. I hope I'll enjoy the game. Like, let's go. Let's have a good game this weekend.
Let's have a bit of let's steal a bit of the thunder from the Euros for just like 20 minutes or something. Like let's have the rugby kind of go like, oh yeah, we're still here.
What time we kick? 5 o'clock South African side. I think that's the same time as England's quarterfinal.
I think
it's
it. Yeah, I like watching England play football at the minute is like watching Ireland play football at the minute, which is just fucking torturous. They're somehow twice as good. each individual player is twice as good as ours, but they're somehow always just fucking useless. Like, I don't understand it.
Don O'Shea's boys. Don't talk about O'Shea's boys like that. Son. Yeah.
Okay, well, for me, thank you so much for tuning in. Neil, thank you for coming on doing our preview, and hopefully we will see you next week when one of us will probably be in a little bit less of a good mood. Nia, you know what to do.
And don't forget, never stop trying.
Hey.